I'm Denise.
She's a non-fiction editor, and I'm Louise.
She's a fiction editor. And together,
we're the Editing Podcast.
Hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Editing Podcast. So this time around, we're going to chat about opportunity cost and why editors and proofreaders need to keep an eye on this part of our business.
Yeah, so let's start by saying what opportunity cost is. So it's basically the idea that when you decide to do something, you're giving up the potential benefits that could have come from choosing a different option.
Yeah, so it's about considering what you're sacrificing or foregoing when you make a decision.
Exactly, trade-offs. And you and I have discussed this a lot over the years, Denise, and I think the thing that strikes me most is when I've spent a lot of time talking about an issue and ending up down a rabbit hole, and then I think about what I could have done with that time if I'd stopped whining about it and got on with fixing it.
That's so true. And it might not even be as concrete as talking about something. It might be time spent worrying about it.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one because life sometimes brings worries with it. And there's no point in trying to pretend that we won't have to go through worrying about stuff.
Definitely. And it could even be unhealthy to ignore that worry. Plus, life is about trade-offs. There's no getting away from that. But when it comes to being a business owner, we do need to keep an eye on this because the online editing community is massive and very chatty.
It is, which is at the same time just brilliant and also potentially very distracting.
Yeah.
So how about we look at a few core areas where we as editors might want to pay particular attention and review whether we're getting that balance right.
And we both love a plan, don't we?
Oh, yes, yes.
Oh, yeah. So with that in mind, we thought we'd share a framework of sorts that can help all of us decide how and where to invest our time and work out what the opportunity costs are. So let's do that first.
Yeah, okay. So step one is to evaluate the pros and cons. For example, what are the financial implications and the time constraints for each option? And how closely does a decision to do one thing or another align with your long-term business goals?
And that way, at least you're being transparent with yourself right from the get-go about how you're using your time and effort.
Yeah.
The next step in our opportunity cost management framework,
Ooh.
she said, ooh, is to prioritize. So it can be tempting to always go for what feel like quick wins because that can feel incredibly satisfying.
Yeah, especially when those opportunities to invest time in something come easily. For example, chatting in online discussion groups.
That thing again.
Yeah.
But actually, as editorial business owners, we do need to be keeping a close eye on what's best in the longer term and prioritizing the things that are most likely to keep our businesses healthy and moving in the direction we want them to.
So have a think about what your business goals and objectives are. Do you want to work more efficiently? Do you want to find more clients? Do you want to change specialisms?
Yeah, or maybe you want to feel less isolated or carve out a better home office space or increase your effective hourly rate.
So another thing to consider is time management and whether there's an opportunity for outsourcing so that you get someone else to do something for you rather than doing it yourself.
Yeah, so you could, for example, decide that social media marketing is valuable and needs to be attended to, but it's a time sucker and you don't like doing it. And so you'd experiment with investing in an automated scheduler that can do the heavy lifting for you while you get on with something else.
Yeah, and that's a pretty straightforward one to implement, isn't it?
Mm.
So the next part of the framework is striving for balance. So life isn't always about the shiny stuff. It can't be. There are bills to be paid for now.
Yeah, so you want a balanced approach whereby you're pursuing new opportunities, but in a way that doesn't mean you're damaging your existing business.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. And then the final step is to be ready to review and adapt. Because the fact is that sometimes we'll try X or we'll do Y and we'll realize that it isn't giving us the benefit that we hoped it would, or it's causing too much damage in another part of your business.
Yeah, and so if something isn't working, it's fine to stop it, take a step back and reassess. Maybe there's a different choice to be made, or maybe what we're currently doing just needs a little tweaking to ensure that the opportunity cost isn't harmful.
Okay, so we've got our framework, pros and cons, prioritization, time management and outsourcing, balance, and being adaptable. So, shall we look at some areas of editorial business practice, see if we can put that framework to use and help us make decisions?
Yeah. So why don't we crack on with professional development? So On the pro side, we get to be better at our job or feel confident to take on a particular type of work that we wouldn't have done otherwise. And we get to showcase that expertise on our website so that potential clients see us as a good fit for them.
Yeah, but on the con side of things, skills development costs time and money. Now, you could use the cost of that training course to pay for something else. And it might be something nice like a holiday or a new pair of shoes.
Or it might be that doing the course means you'll not actually be doing paid editorial work because you'll be spending that time learning. So those are the pros and cons. What about prioritization?
So, training, even if the course only takes you a day, takes longer to practice and implement with confidence. So, the quick
Mm.
win is to stick with what you know and either buy shoes or take on that editorial job instead. But if we were to prioritize longer term growth, we might think doing this course on, say, non-fiction developmental editing means I can expand my services in the future and really hone my non-fiction editing niche, become more of a specialist, and increase my rates.
And that's an approach that's more in line with your business development goals. And the
Mm.
mindset behind that is yes, there's an opportunity cost of choosing the course over the shoes or the job, but the shoes and this single job are one offs, whereas the impact of training will affect the other jobs you take in the future and potentially an increase in income that will allow you to buy more shoes.
Oh, I see where you're going with this, Imelda. Anyway, how about balance? In this example, we might think of this in terms of making sure that you don't become a permanent student.
That's right. Learning is a good thing, but we're still running a business and there's food to put on the table. So, being able to ensure that our professional development activities aren't taking up so much of our time that we never invest time in actually finding clients or doing editing work is a must.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in terms of being adaptable, if you choose to do the course but find that the time you've allocated to it is swallowing up your abilities to attend to other important things, take a look at if you can review your learning schedule.
Yeah, or take some time out, even if
Mm.
that means explaining to the tutor that you need a little grace because of personal circumstances.
Yeah, yeah, we have to be adaptable in these
Yeah,
things. We have to be willing to review and be prepared to change things. I think that's the
yeah, yeah,
important thing.
definitely.
Yeah.
You don't always have to know all the answers up front. What you can
Ex
do is commit
yeah.
to learning and
Yes,
to learning the answers and not feeling like you failed just because you tried something it didn't quite work out how you expected it.
exactly. It's that growth mindset.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and appreciating the journey rather than just the end goal.
Hmm. Yeah.
So another area in which editors and proofreaders often find themselves having to weigh up the opportunity cost is when it comes to purchasing software and other tools.
And the assumption here is that you're wondering whether to buy something that you're confident is a good fit tool. So let's use Perfect as an example because that's a well-known piece of software that a lot of editors, including us, swear by.
Yeah. So Perfecta isn't free. You have to buy an annual subscription. That's a cost for you, one of the cons in our framework. And it's one you'll have to find the money for every year.
Yeah, but on the pro side, it takes the heavy lifting out of technical consistency checks, which saves you a ton of time and can help reduce your error rate. And a better quality editing job is good for your client and you, and it means you're more likely to be rehired.
Yeah. And that leads into the prioritizing part of our framework. So if one of your business goals is to work more efficiently, subscribing to something like Perfect It will help you achieve that.
Although good fit software is often an opportunity cost that brings quick wins too, because unlike a training course, you can get the benefits with it in minutes rather than hours, days, or months.
That's a really good point,
Mm.
and it's a form of digital outsourcing, isn't it? So if you
Yeah.
find it helps you carry out a particular editorial task, and in the case of Perfect It, we're talking about consistency checking and style enforcement, then you get to manage your time better and then use that saved time to do something else.
Yeah, definitely. And that mean that a part of the job that you enjoy better, like focusing on line craft, or it might mean finishing the job earlier and being able to free up time for marketing or for another project with a fee attached to it.
Or buying shoes.
Or buying shoes, yes.
Which brings us full circle to the longer term business goals again and the balance you're seeking. So maybe you really want to take on more flexible short form work that comes with a nice hourly rate so that you have more time for carrying out caring responsibilities, for example. And in that case, you might decide that the opportunity cost of that software's purchase price is worth it. And so you'll make it a priority to invest in it.
And then in terms of adaptability, don't forget that you're free to review. If a particular piece of software isn't working out for you and having explored it, you don't feel like you're getting payback that you'd hoped for relevant to the cost, don't renew the subscription. See how things go without it.
Yeah, you're in control. So let's talk about something we mentioned at the top, community, because oh my God, I have spent so much time over the years going down a rabbit hole. Twitter, Facebook.
Oh, me too. Society forums, LinkedIn. And look, all of those spaces they're marvelous, but they are time suckers.
Definitely. There's absolutely been an opportunity cost to our online engagement. And I think
Yeah,
that this is a bit of a trickier one to assess in some ways, precisely because it involves people and relationships.
absolutely. It's social, it's human. So, on the pro side of things, we need to consider how chatting in forums and groups can reduce the isolation of working from home and how it can help us build networks, share knowledge, and make friends.
Yeah. It's good
Mm,
for the old mental health.
yeah.
But on the con side, I sometimes wonder if by the time I'd finished making my point in a Facebook group, I could have actually completed an edit, written a blog post, or created a resource for a potential client.
Yeah, or sourced new shoes online. Yeah.
Yeah.
On a more serious note, or sent out 10 letters to publishers that I'm interested in working with, or explored an online resource centre with guidance on marketing or ELT publishing or something.
Yeah.
And I think this is an area where we need to keep a really careful eye on the opportunity cost of the time we spend on community.
Yeah, I agree. So again, it's worth any of us making sure that we've got a list of our business goals in mind and then making sure that we prioritize conversations in community spaces that are aligned with those.
Yeah, and we talked about the quick win issue here right at the beginning of this episode because online conversations can feel like quick wins. It's an opportunity to say our piece and get it
Yeah.
out there. Yeah. But actually, it's just sometimes more of a knee-jerk reaction that can turn into something where it's really difficult to see the end in sight.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So if one of my goals is to promote my expertise in dialogue editing, is having an argument on Twittery X or whatever the hell it's called now with someone about why I choose to include my pronouns in my profile a good use of my time. I could instead prioritize writing a blog post about dialogue problems.
Yeah, yeah. And if I want to get the attention of more ELT publishing professionals, am I spending the right amount of time in the right spaces? So I might very well want to engage in online groups and forums, but I'm going to make sure that I prioritize the ones where I'm going to build relationships with people who can help me achieve those
Yeah,
goals.
yeah.
It's all about making sure that the opportunity costs are being spent in the most effective spaces.
Yeah. So we're back to balance. Yes, we
Mm.
want to use our community spaces to engage with other editors and publishing professionals, but if those means that if that engagement means that we're falling behind on our work, or those spaces are making us feel upset, or they're stopping us from achieving things that help keep our businesses healthy and developing, we need to review.
And adapt. I know we've both taken a big step back from chatting on the socials. I don't think we do anywhere near as much of that as we used to.
Definitely. I'm much more likely to think, what else can I do with my time if I'm not gassing in that space? Can me and Denise do a podcast episode? That way we still get to gas, but it's very
Very
focused.
focused, yeah, yeah. And perhaps another good tip is to actively put a limit on when and for how long you'll engage each day. Yeah, we want to be part of communities, but there's still work to be done.
Yeah. And when that community engagement isn't aligned with our business goals, it's especially important to decide on the appropriate times to get into it.
Yeah, you used to work in-house for a publishing company, didn't you? I bet you
Yeah.
went on forums or Facebook during work hours.
Absolutely not. But that's because I'm so old that Facebook didn't even exist then. And I'm imagining you in your physiotherapy days abandoning some client in the middle of massaging away their sciatica so you could post a motivational statement on LinkedIn about managing sciatica.
Yeah, you just see me one hand on the patient and another hand on my feed on looking at that while
Tap, tap,
pa-
tap, scroll,
patient
scroll, scroll.
patient's oblivious face down and I'm trying to scroll on them rather than on my oh it could get really messy, really messy. And I
Ah,
think that maybe on that bombshell we should wrap up.
God, let's. Oh,
So life is about opportunity costs, trade-offs. Doing one thing means not being able to take advantage of the benefits of another. And if you're struggling to decide whether to do A or B, try using the framework we've talked about.
Yeah, so evaluate the pros and cons, know what your business goals are, and then prioritize the opportunities that align with them. Then consider your time, because that has an opportunity cost to it too, and that shouldn't be underestimated or undervalued.
Yeah, then think about balance and think about whether there's a way of taking new opportunities and managing your existing editorial services in a way that respects your current and future needs. And finally, be prepared to review and make changes if things aren't going how you hoped.
And buy shoes.
And buy shoes.
Shoes.
Always find time to buy shoes. And on that subliminal note, that's it from us this week. Thank you once again for listening. If you'd like to help support the Editing Podcast, we've got a couple of options for you. The first is that you can tip us with a one-off donation of your choosing.
Or you can join our Patreon community. All our patrons get exclusive access to a huge batch of transcripts.
Both the links are in the show notes.
Or the shoe notes.
Or the shoe notes. Oh, good one. Wish I'd thought of that. Yeah. In the meantime, she's been Louise Vuitton.
And she's been Denise. Can't think of anything clever to say. Join us again soon.
Join us again soon. Bye.
Bye.